Welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast, just for construction and contracting business owners who are curious to find ways to work smarter, not just harder. My name is Dominic Rubino, and I'll be your host. Today's guest is Rocky Lalvani, and we're going to talk about how can I put profit first into my construction business. What's this podcast all about? Well, I show contractors how to get back in control of their construction business, even if they don't know where to start. And I do that by showing them how to use simple systems in three places. Number one, in the office. Number two, on a job site. And number three, in their shop. And if there was a bonus fourth place that I show people simple systems, it's all about the mindset of success and business ownership. Getting your business to the next level starts in your head, just like it starts in mine. I'm a business owner, and I'm also a business coach. And the only people I work with are construction and contracting business owners who want to get their business to the next level. Have you ever said to yourself, I want to get my business running smoother, but I just don't have the time? Besides, no one ever showed me how to do this. I'm making it up all on my own. Well, no one showed me either. Back in the 80s, I started to do what you're doing now. It's just that I started out by listening to cassette tapes, buying books, going to seminars, and hiring business coaches for my own companies. And you know what I found out? That I still live by this today. It's not what you've got. It's what you do with what you've got. I've always been a scrappy startup guy. In the 80s and early 90s, I found myself fighting for jobs, fighting for profits, fighting for the right employees. In the 90s, I think I started to figure it out. In the 2000s, the word would be finally. I finally figured out profits. I finally figured out how to build a team. I finally figured out how to put simple systems in place. And I finally figured out how to enjoy life and run a company at the same time. See, the truth is, you don't need a lot of extra time or a business degree to build a profitable, solid business. You just need simple systems and some new ideas to old problems. Simple systems that give you quiet confidence. On this show, I'm going to share those simple systems so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just got to get that bad boy running. So if you're a business owner who's curious to find ways to run your business profitably, to have more time off, do the things you love, build a team you can rely on, and grow a company that one day you could sell or pass on to somebody else, live off the cash flow, you're in the right place. If I had to sum it up, this show is about the business of the contracting business. If we talk about tools, we talk about business tools. If we talk about people, we talk about finding great people, building a great place for them to work, and getting consistent, reliable output from them. If we talk about time, we talk about your own personal time. So, having balance in your life, or we talk about doing things faster, smarter, better, so that your jobs get done on time, on budget, with the quality you expect. Now, you know who else is listening to this show? Other contractors who are in family businesses, who have partnerships, or who are running the business on their own without anybody else to turn to. See, for too long, our industry has been keeping secrets, acting as if we're the only ones who have the secret sauce on building a profitable construction business. Well, I'm here to put an end to that. I host this podcast because one day I want to be your business coach. As a matter of fact, I have a team of business coaches that I have personally hand-selected. I have high expectations for the people that join my team, and I'm proud of every single one of them. As you listen to this podcast, ask yourself if you think me and my team might be the right tool to help you get to the next level. With that being said, let me get into business coach mode right now. I'm going to challenge you. In this episode, you're going to hear something, learn something, or realize something. And on that, I want you to take action in the next 24 hours. And then I want you to pay attention to how that improves your business or your life. I hope you know this podcast is built to educate, inform, and inspire you. So let me get into your head and ask you an inspirational question. Are you happy being a contractor who runs a few crews? Or do you want to be a business person who just happens to run a construction company? By the end of today's episode, you're going to know the answer. Let's get to it. Mr. Rocky Lalvani, how are you?
I am doing wonderful, Dom. I'm excited to be with you today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be with you as well. You've had a little bit of travel in your background here. You just came back from, was it a Profit First conference?
It is ProfitCon. That was a lot of fun. Got to hang out with Mike and the team and a whole bunch of other people doing nothing but talking about profit.
Oh my gosh, nobody here wants to talk about profits at all, especially profits in construction. Actually, you know what we should do then? because that was the perfect segue. You know what our title is today, Rocky? How do I put profit first into my construction business?
Yeah.
Would you be the guy we talk to about that?
I think so.
I think
I
so
know
too.
it quite well.
Now, for people who haven't read the book, there's a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz.
There's a whole bunch of different versions too.
Yeah.
Specialized for different fields, but I know them all.
Yeah. Well, let's focus. Today's going to be all about you and profits and construction. So let me ask you this question here. Rocky Lalvani, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing contractors all over the world?
So we're going to start when I was 2.
Don't do that. There'll be a lot of editing.
I know we are. I 2 minutes for 2. Yeah. I'm an immigrant to the United States. I came here from India. When you come as an immigrant, you're on the wrong side of the tracks, right? But my parents knew how to do things in their previous life. And what I got to watch is how they built wealth in the United States. How did people come together, start over, move their way up the economic ladder? And one of the interesting things that I never realized was different, they all talked about money in their conversations. How much did you pay for that? How'd you do that? What did that cost? How much do you make? I just assumed everybody talked about money and understood it. I didn't realize there were all of these emotional things hung up with money. I was also the tech kid way back when Bill Gates and what's his name were young, except I wasn't as smart as them. But one of the first things I started to play with was a program called VisiCalc. It was the first electronic spreadsheet. Yeah. So I was going in high school teaching accountants how to get off of paper onto electronic spreadsheets.
VisiCalc. Yeah.
VisiCalc. All right. But we still didn't have a bunch of money. So you know what that means? When you want nice stuff at home, you learn how to do it. So I learned how to stud. I learned how to run electric. I learned how to lay carpet. I learned how to do tile. I learned how to put a new roof on the house. I learned how to fix plumbing. So I know how to lift all that stuff and do all that stuff. We flip houses in the past. So I know how to pick up a hammer, and I know when a construction guy is BSing me on costs and time and everything else that goes along with that. And I also understand the numbers in the spreadsheets. Bring that all together, and here we are. I brought you across 55 years in about 2 minutes.
That was fast. Yeah. Now, you call yourself a fractional CFO. Is that correct?
I don't publicly say that.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know why? Because there's a whole lot of stigma with that. I can't
I was going to say,
that.
people don't know what a fractional CFO is.
So here's the thing. I go Blue Ocean. I am known as their chief profitability officer. I'm here to help you be profitable, which most CFOs aren't necessarily there to help you be profitable and have more cash.
Yeah. And right? CFO, for people that aren't aware, is chief financial officer. We're talking beyond bookkeeper, beyond accountant. You're the one who comes in and polices the accountant.
They're the one that's in the suit and the tie. I'm wearing a polo shirt, and I probably should have just worn a V-neck t-shirt.
Let's talk about the, the audience here. These are all people who built their own construction contracting company, mostly from scratch. Sometimes they've taken over a family business and roles have changed and now they're running it. But either way, everybody listening here is very close to the work. They might be in the office, but they're still doing the estimating. They're still doing the work, close to the work. And yet they find themselves working extremely hard. When I say burning the candle at both ends, that's a nice, tidy little sentence. But what it means, Rocky, is they're missing their daughter's softball tryout. They're missing their son's football practice. They're missing getting home on time so their wife can go to choir because they're doing estimates. They're running all over the place. And they're saying to themselves, I'm working so beeping hard and I'm still not making money. So let's get ourselves in a place where we can help that person.
That's who I help. But of course, none of my people have that problem because they are at their kids' baseball games.
Yeah.
They are home. Their kids and their family come first.
Yeah.
And then we figure out how to systematize the business so that they are not stuck in it all the time. And we figure out how to have great cash flow and how to grow your business without you being the cog in the wheel that's holding everything up and causing all the trouble.
Well, that's why you're here. You and I help the same type of person. But maybe we should talk, because people may not have read Profit First. What's the basics, just the basics of how to do Profit First? And again, it's a book, the book is called Profit First.
It is. It's Mike Michalowicz. So Mike Michalowicz is a serial entrepreneur. He used to own a forensic accounting company. That's an accountant who goes in and finds out where all the fraud is. Matter of fact, he investigated Enron.
Oh,
right?
Did he?
After the fall, and said, they were guilty. But here's the couple of things you need to know. When he owned that forensic accounting firm, he was never profitable. Okay. When he sold it, he got his profit event because he thought profit was an event, not a habit. Mm-hmm. And he got all this money along with selling some other companies, and he was big, fat, and happy. And he thought he knew what he was doing in business. Mm. And within a couple of years, he lost all his money to the point that they came to take back the house and the car. And so he went through some very tough times, as all business owners do, right? The ups and the downs. And during that downtime, he said, what the hell did I do wrong? Mm. And how do I make sure that this never happens for another business owner? And one of his ahas was like, wait a minute, these accountants gave us the wrong formula for profit. Mm. They told us it's sales minus expenses equals profit. So where does profit in that equation?
At the end.
At the end, it's a leftover. It's an afterthought, right?
Yeah.
He goes, well, this is stupidity. We're supposed to pay ourselves first. How about sales minus profit equals expenses?
Sales minus profit equals expenses.
Now we're constraining expenses, and expenses, the leftovers. So this whole thing is based on two principles. Mm-hmm. Universal laws like gravity. The first one is called Parkinson's law. You familiar with Parkinson's law?
I'd have to say no.
That's fine. Most people aren't. Most people are not. It's a real simple law. It says time and money expand to whatever is given, right? So your kid has a book report due, and he's given 2 weeks. When does he do the book report? The night before it's due.
Oh, right? That was my entire school career was Parkinson's law then.
Yeah, Parkinson's law. Same thing. We're talking to builders, right? And construction guys. They walk in, and what are the first two questions? What's your budget?
Yeah.
And what's the time frame? They tell you 6 months and 100,000. It's 6 months and 100,000. Guy says, I got 2 weeks and 20 grand. You figure out how to get it done for 2 weeks and 20 grand. Same thing happens in your business. So that's principle one. The second principle is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
80-20.
That one everybody knows, right? Yeah. 20% of what you do produces 80% of the results. The same thing holds true in your business. You put those two together, and all of a sudden you have a systematized business that is constrained to say, hey, you got 20%, figure out how to make your 20 be your 80. Figure out where to put your time, money, and effort, and constrain yourself. And that's how you become profitable. So there's another book. It's by Jonathan Burns. It's called Pools of Profit in a Sea of Red Ink. At least I think that's what it's called.
You got enough books behind you there.
Yeah. They're all real. Islands of Profit in a Sea of Red Ink. He is an MIT professor, so he's out of our league. And what he did is he went and looked at these large corporations, and he found out a dirty little secret. The dirty little secret was 20 to 30% of what these large corporations did produced something like 80% of the profit. 30 to 40% of what they did lost money.
Right.
And the rest was break even. So this is really hard for a big business to do. It's really easy for us to do. Why don't we get rid of the 80% that is useless and spend our time on the 20% that makes all our profit, and now put 40 or 50 or 60% in there and make crap tons of money without hardly working.
And
so let me give you an
time
example
in there too, right?
There's a lot. It's everything. It's time, it's money, and it's resources, and it's wasting time with people who are never going to hire you anyway, doing useless estimates for right?
Wow. You just, right? The tire kickers, the people
kickers. Yeah. A lot of my guys actually charge for estimates, right?
As
and they apply
should.
It too. Right? Yeah. So let's do this. So here's another one. One of my clients was not as big into, he was more the cleanup guy. So he ran a pressure washing business. Okay.
Yeah.
In the off season, he ran a Christmas light business. Okay.
I used to do that. That was my very first company as a kid. It was called the Yo Ho Ho Light Co. I installed Christmas lights on houses.
There you go. I looked at his numbers. You know what I found out?
Yeah, no.
His pressure washing business, which was his main business, made him a little bit of money.
Yeah.
His Christmas light business, all his profit was coming from the Christmas light business. I literally said to him, stop focusing on pressure washing.
Move to the North Pole. Only do Christmas lights.
Take the summer off. Go do Christmas lights. He's driving a Maserati now, but that's besides the point. Work less, make more. And that's what it is. Where is your 20% that produces 80% of the results? And go focus on that. That takes a lot of thinking time. You got to think about your business.
Yeah.
You have to understand the numbers. And you have to ask yourself, do I really need to do this? Because too often we're doing stuff because we're doing stuff, not because we thought about it. It's because we threw money at the problem. We throw money at every problem instead of thinking about it.
It's funny that sentence you just said boils down to things that I really believe in as well. Like thinking about things. Well, we put a strategic plan in place. I notice you've got the book Traction behind you. That's the system that I use for reinventing businesses while they're still running. Then you talked about knowing your numbers. That's the dashboard that we have to have a simple set of numbers. And maybe we can jump into the numbers in a second, but the numbers is not just the balance sheet, the P&L. It's operational numbers that tell us the story of how the business is running. And then you mentioned time management. It's managing your time. And, Rocky, you could take this one from me because it's so good. How's that for an ego statement? Time management is like brushing your dog. You're just never done. You're never done. And you have to focus on the priorities. Time management is really priority management. But if you're not clear on what the priorities are, like you said, the 80-20, you're just going to be busy, busy, busy all the time, but never profitable. Profitable in time and profitable in money.
Correct.
Tell us a story, Rocky. Get any stories?
Well, so I told you the one about the pressure washing.
The Maserati pressure washer.
The Maserati pressure washer.
Well, maybe let's talk about him for a second, because you've already opened that story. What was how did he start? What was the problem that he came to you with? And what did he do to get the changes in his business?
Honestly, he was working hard. He had good revenue, right? But there wasn't anything left to keep because he wasn't doing all the things you as a business owner are supposed to do. Right? Making sure that the taxes are paid on time, making sure that the cash is being managed and constrained and pulled out. Like, it's like most of us, we're busy doing the work, but we're not managing the business. And so that's what he came to me is, how do I focus on managing the numbers and the business? And how do I make this profit first work inside the business?
Right.
And that was kind of the key. For a lot of my guys, honestly, a big part of it is just cash flow management and understanding where is my cash coming in. So for my builders, you got big money coming and going.
Right.
We can actually sit down. Now we're recording this beginning of October. I can sit down with most of my builders and I can tell them what the next 4 to 6 months of cash flow look like. Now, like, we can project that and we can say, hey, you're going to have a problem here if something doesn't change.
Right.
And so once they know that, they can go, oh, let me go look at the schedule and see how to rearrange things for cash flow. Not because I'm getting yelled at or there's this or that. They start to better understand how the decisions they make in project flow affect the decisions in their bank account.
Right. Yeah. I call that running the business on purpose.
Yeah.
And I like the definition you had here. There's a difference between doing the work and managing the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a teeter-totter, and it's hard because at some point you have to jump away from doing the work and start to balance yourself between managing the business as somebody's growing, right? And then as you get more and better systems in place, people to support you, or systems to support you, you can do more of managing the business.
And I think that's the biggest issue. The biggest problem I see with all of them is getting the knowledge out of their head and onto paper, and into a system that somebody else can manage, and that it's the same for everybody. So like, if you're in, I'm going to talk because I give an example of a deck builder. If everyone is not building the deck the same way in your company, we got a problem, right? Because when you swap out teams, or somebody's sick, or this or that, or
warranty work later.
Yeah. Warranty work later, best practices, fastest completion time. Like, I bet you if you go look and you watch, you'll find there's one guy in the system who can crank through stuff. He somehow does stuff, or gal does stuff faster. How do you then take that, turn it into institutional knowledge, and spread it out? And how do you get rid there? Look, I'm not to insult. Everyone runs at their own speed. Make sure you don't hire slow people, unless you need somebody who's an inspector, or somebody who's in that position where slowness is a skill.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting takeoff that we could do here. One of the things that happens a lot, and it's happened to me in my own business, is that I'll estimate a job based on how fast I can do the thing. Whatever we make, break, fix, repair, install, replace, frame, finish. I think, well, I can do that in 4 hours. And so I estimated at 4 hours. But I'm motivated because I own the company and I can do it in 4 hours. But my next best person, it's going to take them 6. And any other run-of-the-mill person, it might take them a whole day. And it's frustrating, but it's real.
But there went your profit margin.
Well, unless I estimated based on all day, not my 4 hours.
Yeah, how many guys do that? Gals.
Well, that's why we just brought it up, Rocky. That was my reminder to them. Yeah.
All right.
That's good. But to your point, you've got somebody who works really fast, but you can't estimate the whole job on that person working at their best every single day. It's going to take this much time to do that kind of work.
That is correct. So figure out what those numbers are and estimate so that you have the margin. And by the way, when most people in construction buy material, they always add on 10%, right? They create margin. How many of you create margin at every single job? So when we were flipping houses, every house had margin.
Okay.
Not only was there margin on the cost, then there was margin on the project, then there was margin on the time, and then there was margin on maybe we have to do this and maybe we don't, but we're going to put extra in. So we had so much extra margin built on top of extra margin, that we could screw the whole thing up and still make money.
How often do you find business owners mistaking markup and margin?
I still don't understand it. I get confused by it.
I have to use formulas. Yeah. I can't, because I have to go back and look at the formula and go, it makes sense. There's only 3 components to the darn thing, right? But if I don't use a formula, I get in real trouble. I've had people swap the numbers around.
They do.
Come to me and say, Dom, we're not making money. What happened? I'm like, I don't know. I'm your business coach. We should be making money. But we go back and find out, you move that number in that column, and now suddenly we're doing jobs. Everything looks normal, but we're not making money. And you catch that, we use a report here called the end of job report, which is like an autopsy, right? I used to call it the leprechaun report because one of my clients, this is years ago, feels like 100 years ago, he said, Dom, this is like finding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So we started calling it the leprechaun. But anyways, it's just the autopsy. What did we think we were going to do? And what did we actually do? But it's that conversation afterwards that helps me.
That is exactly what Profit First is. So let's just explain this whole Profit First thing. Profit First is nothing more than a system that has been around for centuries. Back in the old days, right? Your grandparents probably got paid in cash. Yeah. They took their cash, they went home, and they had jars or envelopes, and one was called rent, and one was called utilities, and one was called grocery, and one was called Christmas, because people used to save for Christmas, and you would take your money and you would separate it and you would give it a job and a purpose. And when the time came to pay rent, you went to the rent envelope and it was full of rent money and you paid your rent because it was easy. When you have a big pile of money just sitting there, you tend to overspend because you don't know what its purpose is. And so what Profit First does is it says, we're going to take our money. It's all going to come into one account. So it's called the income account. So I always know how much money came in because it's segregated. That all that account does is collect money.
Right.
And so every time I look at it, I can see how much money came in since the last time I did something with it.
Checkbook accounting. Is that what we're calling it? It's just like having your regular checkbook.
Yeah. You don't even need to look at a P&L. I can tell you if you're profitable and or not profitable just by the bank accounts. You don't even need to do, because most people just look at their bank balance. They get, do I have money? Spend. Do I not have money? Oh, I better collect or sell or do something. Right. So it's designed for people like that. It's a basic system. Once the money comes in, we then allocate. Do you know where we allocate first?
Well, let's see. It's called Profit First, but I wonder now, Rocky, sorry, did I take your punchline?
Hey, it was a good setup. So the first thing we do is we take our profit. We put aside money for profit. And we don't touch that. The next thing we do is we pay the business owner, because you are not supposed to be last in line. You're the one whose blood, sweat, tears, and investment went into this company. So you need to get paid first. The next thing we do is we put money aside for the IRS, because they now have guns and they come after you. Right? They swipe your bank account. So let's not forget, when tax time, this is the wildest thing. You want to get another story.
Yeah.
Every single one of my business owners at tax time, even though we all hate to pay taxes, they're like, give me the number. I'm stroking the check. And they're okay stroking 6-figure checks to the IRS because they've got the money ready to pay.
Right.
As much as we hate paying taxes, they feel good that they can answer that number and they can write a check.
I'll pay my taxes as long as you leave me alone to run my business.
Yeah. And then next is the operating account. And that is the last to get allocated. So now we've constrained our spending. And now that is the money you have to run your business. Because it's constrained and everyone else has been paid, if you run out of money, something went wrong. Your estimate was wrong. Somebody didn't pay you. Something happened. And that caused that account to go wrong. Now, in the construction industry, we sometimes do a couple extra accounts. And they're basically what I call pass-through accounts. So if you're in a business where a lot of money is just passing through your business. So let me give you a couple examples. I'm an HVAC guy and I install HVAC systems, right?
Right.
All the money for the HVAC system is literally coming through me. I might get a small markup on it, and then it's going to pay for the bill.
Right.
So that's a pass-through. A second pass-through might be subcontractors. So I'm doing a job, and in order to do the job, I got to hire these 3 subcontractors. Okay. And so I know the money is coming immediately into me and going to the subcontractors. So for those 2 situations, as soon as money comes in, we want to put that money aside first, because we're really not getting profit off of it. Maybe we're getting a little markup. We want to make sure that the money is there to pay those people, because if we don't pay them, they don't show up. Right.
That's the math.
So and the other thing is, if you're taking large deposits, I want you to put the money in a deposit account and only take the money out when you actually earn it, because we don't want to spell today's money on tomorrow's problem.
Well, there are a lot of contractors who are in that gray spot where they're living off deposits.
That means you're in trouble.
It means you're in trouble. I understand. And you're working through that trouble. These are the things that you and I have as conversations with people to get them through that trouble. But it's let's just put the reminder out there. That's not a good place to be. Living on deposits is not where we want to be.
No, you're in trouble. That's clearly. So here's the thing. We didn't even look at the P&L, and we already know that there's problems, right?
Yeah.
Because the bank accounts tell us the truth. It's real cash.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate P&L and balance sheets, all of those things. But I really look hard at the operating numbers of the business, because then I can forecast what's happening. And it just, again, it all comes down to, there's a bunch of little systems that people need to learn, because we never learn this. We don't, even if they taught it in school, let's be honest, I
I
wasn't
have
listening.
an MBA. They didn't teach me, like, it was all theoretical. It's not practical.
Yeah. I don't have an MBA.
It's useless. Good thing you didn't waste your money or time.
You know what? You want a good joke on that, Rocky? I've got a 2-finger MBA.
Yeah.
Oh, this is polite. Can I show you the 2-finger MBA? So I'm holding up both of my fingers here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you keep, my fingers are the same height. So that's the problem here, but you keep your sales high and you keep your expenses low. There.
Yeah.
You got your MBA. That's your MBA. Keep your sales high, keep your expenses low, which is to your point, managing those expenses, managing those costs, giving ourselves those constraints. Quite often, and I wonder if you see this too, people think money will solve problems.
Well, it does. We throw all our money away at problems, then we have no money and we still have problems.
Do you know what I used to solve problems? Cleverness.
Your head.
Yeah. Because I've never had money. I've built and sold a couple of companies now with zero outside financing. I mean, my credit card and my wife's patience. Maybe that's financing, but I've never taken a loan.
Smart man.
Well, bootstrapping, living hard, but being clever, like thinking my way through it, as opposed to throwing money at a problem, because I never had the money to throw at it. And then the business will pay for itself. And if the business doesn't, and these are the stories I don't tell very often, I close the business.
Well, that's a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. It's not paying for itself. That business has got to go.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Profit First is nothing more than a cash management system. It's not an accounting system. It's not this highfalutin thing. It's just
doesn't it
basic
give people
confidence.
Doesn't it give people like a purpose and a confidence, that quiet confidence that people want in their business, to go, I know where everything's at on any given Tuesday. I'm a happy guy because I know where things are.
And so the other thing is that profit account starts to build up cash and it turns into an emergency reserve fund. So that when times go south, and times always go south, you have the cash to deal with it. And it's there and it's waiting for you. And you have the ability to deal with that because there's excess cash in your business.
What have you seen your clients do with excess cash in their business? What's some of the fun stuff?
Honestly, this is one that I struggle with. I think most businesses should just have a ton of cash just sitting there in a bank account earning today, thankfully, 5%. Yeah. I don't want to do anything with it. That is my sleep at night money. You know that if something happens, and something will happen, okay, I can handle it because I have enough money to get through the problem. I can survive for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, the excess you can remove from your business. You can go on vacation. You can pay for your kids' school. You can do whatever fun stuff you want. That is good too. Reward yourself. Right? I'm all into that. And I'm really good about the family corporate meeting somewhere in the Caribbean on the business, because all businesses should have their corporate meetings in a tax haven somewhere fun.
Right. Or a fishing meeting with their business coach.
Or a fishing meeting with their business coach. And, I pay your kids through your business, make sure they do something valuable so that they learn skills and all of that. And keep your spouse happy. Otherwise, she will own half your business. And that's a whole nother story. But yes, have fun, enjoy, but have a little bit excess. People, for whatever reason, I think it's the American way. People can't seem to deal with a little bit of excess on the side, just left to be.
Yeah. Somebody said to me the other day, and this was a joke. It was all in jest, as they say. I'll learn to manage my cash when I win the lottery.
And that's why most lottery winners are broke in
destitute.
3 to 5 years.
That's right. Absolutely destitute because they don't know the basics of money management. And going back to the immigrant story, which you came as an immigrant, my parents were immigrants. So were you born in India or born here?
Born in India.
Born in India, and you came here. So I was born here. But it's interesting to see that the immigrant story is the one where you see people hustling, hustling to make it work. And go ahead, look at them 30 years later. You're like, huh, how did they become so wealthy? Why do they have the time? Why are they now at that golf club or fishing or paragliding, whatever they like to do, right? Rock climbing. Well, how can they have the time to do that? They're running a company, but they've hustled. And we find tragically that a lot of people that were born with a little too much in their lives don't hustle anymore. They don't have a little pain to nudge them along.
No, they have no grit. They have none of that. And that's why you have to make your kids work. And you can't just hand it to them. And that is, so we learn that curse. I learned that at a young age. First generation, escape, builds a thing. Second generation gets propelled. The third generation gets coddled. Oh, I don't want them to have to go through what I went through. So they spoil the crap out of them. And that generation blows all the money.
Yeah.
So my kids are technically that generation. And we were like, yeah, we're going to hand you a lot of money one day when we drop dead. We need to make sure you can handle it and that there is that balance. So you've got to learn how to do that. The first time my kid flew, they were in first class. So how do you still do that and teach grit? And we told our kids, and our kids know, our parents are rich, we're poor, we got to figure this out.
Yeah. How are
right?
you going to figure it out? Yeah.
And we'll show them path. We'll open doors for them, but I'm not walking through the door.
Yeah. I like to also see it from the other side where I want my kids to see me working. I want them to see me hustling and have grit. And so that they go, hey, that's how you make things happen. It's not just going to fall in your lap. They know, in my case, dad has started, built, and sold a couple companies. That's normal to them to have that conversation. It doesn't matter to me if they want to be kindergarten teachers after this, but they know that that's something that other people do. They start, build, and sell companies, right? And that they see the world in a certain way, that they don't accept people who are placing blame, making excuses, living in denial. We don't have any of those people we have a few in our life. But this isn't that
I
show.
want them to reinvent kindergarten.
Oh my gosh, do I ever. I want them to add entrepreneurship into everything, because to me, entrepreneurship is just being a self-sustaining person and not necessarily a follower. You're out there leading,
you provide
and creating.
Value.
Yeah, providing value. All a business does is solve problems for other people. And when we solve problems, we get paid. Out of what we get paid, there's some profit.
There should be.
There is. Well, yes, there should be. As long as you do the math right, if you switch those numbers around, get markup versus margin. What we should do is have you back. You're going to have to study up, but we should talk about adding profit at the job level.
And so here is the thing. The profit is made when you make the proposal. Right? That's when you're profitable, not when you collect the money. The profit is made in handing out the proposal. Because if that proposal doesn't have profit in it to begin with, and you don't know what that profit margin is, then you're in trouble. Yeah. And I don't think most people do. Or sometimes we start to make decisions based on, well, I need cash. Let me discount this so I get the deal. And now that deal is actually losing money. So now you're working hard to get cash to have to work hard again because you lost all your money in that deal.
There's a house that I drive by. I still drive by this house and I'm mad at the house. I lost so much money painting that house. And I don't think the house cares, but it's got to be this has to be over 30 years ago. And I'm still mad at that house. Because I know I lost money. I took the job knowing I just needed to be busy, keep some guys working. And I still drive by that house and I'm mad. Over 30 years later, I should get over it.
You should let go.
You know what? But you know what I didn't understand at the time, though, is because I kept getting feedback from guess who? Well, you're pretty high. You're priced pretty high. You want to charge me that to paint this house? You want to charge me that to fix my deck? You want to charge me that for a fence? And I'm like, so sorry. Am I too expensive? I'll just drop my price. I had a marketing problem. I didn't have a pricing problem. I was going to the wrong customers. They weren't telling me that. I should have gone for better customers with the right kind of jobs that we were set up to do. And that that understanding that I'm not going to win every job, but if I'm bidding at a profitable rate, the ones I do win, I'm going to be profitable.
Want no secret?
The show's all about sharing secrets. Nobody's listening, by the way, Rocky. It's just you and I.
Yeah, okay. There are some people who are nuts enough to want to pay the highest price for whatever work they're getting done. They want the most expensive roof, the most expensive deck, the most expensive windows. The secret is find them.
The ego buyers.
And give it to them.
Yeah, we charge a premium, and here's why.
Yeah.
You know, I know, and we should probably start moving towards the end of this, but have you put in place or seen people put in place the good, better, best mentality when they're putting pricing packages together so that you give people the opportunity to choose best, to choose the premium price package?
Yes, I will tell you this. So the first thing we do is we call that anchor pricing. So the highest one is the anchor. And that sets the expectation. Most people aren't going to pick the lowest one because they don't want to be cheap. So they're going to pick the middle.
Right.
We make sure that the middle is the most profitable and works well. The anchor is way up there and it makes the middle look reasonable.
Right.
And so it just takes all of the issues away. And if people are like, can you do better than that? Yeah, well, yes and no. I mean, we could offer you the lower package, right? We're not discounting. We can offer you the lower package if that's what you want.
It's your choice.
It's your choice. You choose. And it's having the confidence to say that and not throw up at that moment, right?
Well, I have an HVAC company that I've been working with for years, and they are built on the good, better, best format.
Yeah.
And it turns out most people choose the middle, the better.
They don't choose that.
Some people choose best, but almost nobody chooses good. Then nobody chooses the baseline. They're like, if we're going to have the work done, we might as well do this extra thing. And they make the decision. And now their technicians in the field don't even have to sell. They just provide good, better, and best options. And people say, well, I'll take that one.
I told you, everyone picks the middle.
Yeah.
And you can't have more than 3 choices because then people don't know what to pick. It's 3 choices.
I know isn't that interesting?
Okay. Yeah. And the top one needs to be significantly higher than the middle. Right. And that doesn't mean you need to do anymore. Just price it higher.
I love it. Rocky, this has been, I like your style. I like the way you talk and the way you explain things. It's nice and clean and simple. Makes it feel like I could go do it.
Everything we do is simple.
Yeah. I have to do it simple because I'm not very smart. I have to follow simple systems.
I'm lazy.
Shh. I'm telling everybody that. You're just very good with your time.
Thank you.
Hey, if somebody wants to find you in this big, wide world, how do we find you?
Okay, before they find me, can I ask them a favor?
Yeah.
Okay. Wherever you're listening, somewhere on there is a like button. If you like Dominic, hit the button. Be nice. Say thank you to the guy. He didn't even charge you to listen to me. Normally, I charge thousands of dollars for this, but here you got it for free. So at least say thank you to Dominic. Hit the like button, and then go to your buddy who owns another kind of construction company. You got to listen to this episode. So go ahead and share it too. And then if you have time, come find me. I teach and I share everything we do with our clients and for others on how to be more profitable. It's the Profit Answer Man podcast. And you get all we go much, much deeper into all of this and help you to have a growing and more profitable business.
I think I'm scheduled to be on that.
We have you on for a double episode. It's special because you've got so much knowledge that we just need to drop.
Because I can't say it in the amount of time allotted, so we have to do a double. The Profit Answer Man podcast, which is how I found you, by the way.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's that whole profit thing.
Well,
there's
isn't
very
it funny?
few people who get it.
Yeah, we don't run this podcast by accident either. We run the podcast on purpose. I only have the greatest guests. And I'm saying that with you and all the other people that have been here. Yeah, we work really hard to make sure we have the right guests. So that's how you got here. Rocky, thank you. And how do we spell your name in case somebody wants to find you on LinkedIn or
Rocky, and the last name is Lal, V as in Victor, Ani. And if you Google me, you'll find out a crap ton.
Too much stuff.
I own the first 10 pages of Google.
Under the name Rocky Lalvani?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all me.
Yes, if you Google Dominic Rubino, there's some kid that's like a college wrestler. That's not me, just so you guys know.
I thought it was.
No, not me. All right, Rocky, thank you. I need another sip of coffee here. Thank you for being with us. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the stories. I think we're going to have you back again.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Bye-bye. Well. What did you learn from Rocky Lalvani about profits and about profits in your construction business? And what can you put in place? I mean, one of the things we talked about in there was the tire kickers that Rocky knows about as well. And he comes from a totally different industry than we do. Tire kickers who are wasting your time. Maybe you learned something from that. Maybe you learned something from our overall discussion about the Pareto principle and Parkinson's law. And the fact that Rocky and I, we've never met before, agree that you need a strategic plan. You need to think. You need to have a dashboard. You need to track your numbers. And then you need to manage your time. Those are things we talk about here on the show all the time. As we go into the final piece of this podcast episode, I want to break this into 3 equal parts. I'm going to start off with a dad joke here. Then I'm going to ask you a quick favor. And then we're going to identify a common problem that we see in contracting. And today's common problem is something Rocky brought up, which is the tire kickers problem. I'm going to simplify that. And then I'm going to give you some steps on how to fix it. If tire kickers are eating your time and cutting into your, not only your money profits, but your personal time with your family type of profits. So the dad jokes, why dad jokes? Why bad jokes? Why dad jokes poorly delivered? Because I want you smiling. I want your mind open. And I know you are looking forward to these so you can share them with your friends, or maybe even somebody who works for you, right? I don't know if you ever heard the one about the constipated accountant. He just couldn't budget. Hey, do you know what the difference is between a lawyer and an accountant? Well, you see, the accountant is aware that he's dull and boring. And folks, you know that being a podcast host does not pay the bills, as you might not know that. But I ended up getting a part-time job at the bank, but I got fired right away. And here's what happened. A lady came into the bank and asked me to check her balance. So I pushed her. All right. Let me ask you a favor. And the favor is very direct and simple and straightforward. I'd like you to leave a review for the podcast. Now, you might think, oh, Dom just wants a review because it's going to, make things better for him. Yeah, 100%. In this life, you got to ask for what you want, but you also have to have grace. You also have to have gratitude. When we think about the principles of servant leadership, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, regardless of whether you have the title servant leadership, you know that we have to honor others before we honor ourselves. Inspire vision before setting the course, right? That's what I talk about with goal setting. Choose to be ethical before you choose to make a profit. Empower others before personal gain. Privilege people, value people before tasks. Balance focus with flexibility, and then serve with humility. Those are the principles of servant leadership. And if that's something you believe in, if that's a way you try to lead your life, then I'm asking you simply to do one of those things, and to honor others is to honor this podcast. And the reason that you would do that is not for Dom. It's for somebody else who you have never met and won't meet. It's somebody who's looking for information, somebody who wants to find ways to improve their business. And they're wondering, out of all the millions of podcasts out there, which one's worth listening to. So if you leave a little thumbs up on the YouTube video, or if you find a place to do that on iTunes or on Google Play, I would appreciate that. And somebody that you will never meet will look at that and say, hey, somebody else just like me trusted this podcast. Maybe it's worth looking into. So I'll leave it at that. And I thank you in advance. Right now, let's get into solving this common problem. And the Tire Kickers document is something other people have already downloaded from the show. So you may have heard this before, but if you want to get the Tire Kickers download, just send me a text message at 315-903-7853. It's just called Tire Kickers. So send me that keyword. The reason that you want this is because you're trying to solve a problem. And that problem that you might see is where you're breaking promises that you've made to people in your family. And I specifically think about the things that used to happen to me back in the 80s and early 90s when I would get an estimate and I'd be on the other part of town and I would say to my family, gotta go. This is the big one. This is going to change everything. And so the promises I would break is that I'm going to be here on time, or I was going to be here for that event, or they're doing that thing. And instead I would go off and meet somebody to do an estimate. But unfortunately, they weren't the right decision maker. They weren't a decision maker. It wasn't the right kind of job for us, or it was somebody who was just wasting my time. Now, that's only the Saturday situation. Maybe you don't have a Saturday situation where time's being pulled from you, but you still find yourself doing a lot of work for people that are never going to make a decision to work with your company. And we call those people tire kickers. If that's frustrating to you, then get this free download. It's let's see here. It's 4 pages. It's not very long. It's a printout, easy to put in place. It breaks things down into very simple steps. You just text me for it. Just say tire kickers in a text message, 315-903-7853. You see, I live the same way you do. All of us have the same opportunities in front of us, but we have to choose our pain. You and I have to choose our kind of pain. There's only 2 kinds of pain that we choose. The pain of working hard, doing free estimates, eating into your family time and getting ghosted. That's pain. Or the pain of asking simple, direct questions up front and making the other person prove why they should be your customer. You have to choose between those 2 pains. Which one would you prefer? The one where you ask a couple of simple questions and somebody has to answer you, or the one where you drop everything in your life and run off madly in all directions? So that's what this is going to show you, is how to make the differences just by asking certain questions and not just immediately running off to answer everybody. Send me a text at 315-903-7853 and say tire kickers, and we'll send that off to you. Now, by the way, there is one other thing going on right now. We're running a masterclass. Now, what I do is I put a wait list together, and when we have enough people on the wait list, then we run the class. But the class is a training class from me. It's an hour long. In that hour, you're going to learn as much as I've done, reading 100 books in 10 years, right? But I'm going to summarize and condense the time, team, and money secrets for contractors into a masterclass, and it's an hour. There's going to be visuals. There's going to be your ability to ask questions, just an ability to get another level deeper in understanding how to take your business to the next level. Because it's not going to be one thing you need to change, right? It's a combination of a bunch of little things, but none of them are hard. The hard part is continuing to live day to day, knowing that your company could be doing a bit better and not knowing where to start. Right now, we're going to start by doing the very simple things, and I'll show you those in the masterclass. Anyways, if you want to join me in the masterclass, just send the keyword wait list. Just say you want to be on the wait list. Pretty simple. You just want to be on the wait list. And then as I gather the names, when we have enough people, I'll just send out an invitation time. But you send it to the same cell phone number, 315-903-7853, and just say wait list. So you got 2 options or 2 reasons to text me. One of them is for the tire kickers document. It's a PDF, easy to print off, take notes, go have a coffee. Go to a coffee shop. You've heard me say this before. Go to a coffee shop, face the corner, put your headphones in, and just think about your business and try to change one little thing this week. Maybe it's the tire kickers document. Maybe the only thing you got to do this week is get yourself on the wait list. Maybe that's the big move. Whatever it is, but take one action. And so both of those actions can be done here just by sending me a text, 315-903-7853. Say either waitlist or say tire kickers or say both. I'm happy to help however I can. Thanks for checking in, folks. Look, the reason I run this podcast is one day I want to be your business coach. I have a team of fantastic people who are also business coaches with me, and I'm proud of every single one of them. They're all hand-selected and very heavily trained through me. Maybe we can be your business coach one day, and I hope we all get a chance one day to sit down across the table, have a glass of wine, cup of coffee, shake hands like real humans instead of this crazy podcast world. Until then, we'll see you on the next episode.